the tuck rule. The infamous play that jolted, rejuvenated, that changed history for both the Oakland Raiders, or the then Oakland Raiders, and the New England Patriots. For those that may not know, the tuck rule is a rule in the rule book, or was a rule in the rule book, I should say, but is most famously known for the AFC divisional playoff game in 2002 between the Patriots and the Raiders. So to just kind of recap it, right? In the closing moments of the fourth quarter at Foxborough Stadium, because that was the last year of Foxborough Stadium before they opened Gillette Stadium, New England Patriots were trailing by 3 points with under 2 minutes to go. It was just under the 2-minute warning, and they didn't have any timeouts. I want to say they were, I was just watching it today. Where were they? Like the 45-yard line, maybe, of the Raiders. And Brady dropped back to pass, takes the ball in the gun, drops back to pass. And here comes Charles Woodson on his front side. Not his blind side, his front side. And he goes to sack him. And then in the blink of an eye, it's the strong side, not front side. Strong side. Ball drops out. Fumble. Raiders recover it. It was like a minute and 50 left in the game. Patriots had no timeouts. Raiders basically just sealed the game. Then, the play went under review. Under 2 minutes, all reviews come from upstairs. So they went to go review it. And after review, referee Walt Coleman reversed the call, declaring the play was an incomplete forward pass, and the possession went back to the New England Patriots. And then, the Patriots marched down the field a little bit more. They kick a 45-yard field goal. That field goal was in overtime. They kicked like a 30-yard field goal to tie the game. Game goes in overtime. They march down the field, and they kick an overtime field goal to win. Because at the time, trying to get this fuzz off my microphone. Come on. Because at the time, it was just sudden death. All you needed was 3 points, and the game was over. No one complains about that rule. Just needing 3 points. And you don't hear anybody of the Raiders be like, Rich Gannon never touched the ball in overtime to score. No, you only hear Chiefs fans complaining about it. Anyways. That rule, or that play, I should say, forever changed the landscape of the New England Patriots. Because without that play, or without that rule, I should say, like I said, it's a fumble. Raiders ball. It was like a minute 50, minute 45 left, no timeouts. They would have won the game. Now, obviously, what would have happened, who knows? Whether the Raiders were going to beat the Steelers or if the AFC was going to beat the Rams in the Super Bowl, who knows? I'm not here to play what ifs. I know Tom Brady and Charles Woodson played a little bit of what ifs, and it was actually kind of cool. And it was pretty cool. I mean, Brady said some things that was very eye-opening to me, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But the thing that was like really, I don't want to say shocking, but it was just like, bro, like you don't know. Like, was Charles Woodson. I love Charles Woodson. I'm a big fan of him. I think he was one of the best defensive backs, whether he was playing corner, strong safety, that the league has seen in a long time. And deservingly went into the Hall of Fame last year. But like, he was saying like, we weren't going into that game fearing the weather. We were ready to go in there and raid. It's in our name, the Raiders. And I was coming off the edge. I knew I was going to sack you, and that was going to be the game. And when the ball popped out, we were like, going to Pittsburgh. And if we went to Pittsburgh, we were going to beat them, and then we were going to play the Rams in the Super Bowl, and we were going to win that, and we would have went back-to-back because we would have kept the team together. So we would have beat the Bucs in the Super Bowl in 2002, because the 2002 Super Bowl, the Buccaneers beat the Raiders in that Super Bowl. So it's like, bro, you just don't know that. I mean, you just don't know that. That Steelers team in 2001 was damn good. That defense was disgusting. Like, that Steelers defense, as much as I hate the Steelers and their fan base, I don't hate them. They're just kind of annoying. That Steelers team in 2001 was good. And I do think that Steelers team would have beat the Oakland Raiders. And then obviously in the Super Bowl between the Rams and even the Raiders or the Steelers, I don't know. But you can't just go out there and say like, oh, we would have beat the Steelers, we would have beat the Rams. Like you just don't know. Like in 2010, the Super Bowl between I can't think of it, the Cardinals and the Steelers. Like the Patriots had probably the best team that year, right? They had the absolute best team that year. And they lost in the divisional round to the Jets. But I'm not sitting here saying like, oh, if we beat the Jets, we would have beat the Steelers and we would have beat the Cardinals. Like, I know that for sure. Like, I'd like to think that. And that is what I think. But that's not a guarantee, because the Steelers were good that year. Obviously, they won the Super Bowl. The Cardinals were good that year. Obviously, they made it to the NFC title game. Like, in 2015, when the Patriots lost to the Broncos, like, I'm not going to sit here and say that, like, they would have beat the Panthers that year. You get the point. So that was, like, really the only thing that was just kind of, like, annoying on Charles Woodson's part. But other than that, the breakdown between Brady and Woodson was really, really good. So what are my thoughts on the tuck rule? My thoughts on the tuck rule is, given what the rule was at the time, because that rule has been since abolished, as of 2013, the NFL got rid of that rule. And I guess when you look at it now, that play, in 2022, that's a fumble. But that's 2022 without the tuck rule. But in 2002, with that rule in effect, I mean, that's the rule. I'll read you the exact rules, word for word, at the time. So the rule was used from 1999 until 2013. And it's been a thing for decades. For decades upon decades. However, it was never really a in the rule book rule. Obviously, we see a quarterback drop back. We're always looking on the screen, when he gets strip sacked. Is his arm going forward? Is the arm going forward? Where's the ball? And is it past his helmet? Because if the quarterback cocks his arm back and he gets strip sacked, it's a fumble. Yes. And when his arm's moving forward and his hand and the ball are at the same plane or past his helmet and the ball comes out, it's an incomplete pass. That's what we know the rule as today. That's what the rule has always been. However, there's that kind of weird gray area where your arm is still moving forward, but you're not throwing the ball. And the ball comes out, hence the tuck rule. So let me read what the rule was. NFL Rule 3, Section 22, Article 2, Note 2. When an offensive player is holding the ball to pass it forward, any intentional forward movement of his arm starts a forward pass, even if the player loses possession of the ball as he's attempting to tuck it back toward his body. Also, if the player has tucked the ball back into his body and then loses possession, it is a fumble. Okay, so as the rule states and as we saw the play, let's break this down. I'm going to insert, players' names and team names into the rule to kind of make it more sense. Now, obviously, the younger generation that's listening to this episode may have no idea what I'm talking about. So if you don't, please go YouTube the tuck rule game. Just type that into YouTube, the tuck rule game, and it will pop up. Type in Patriots, Raiders, tuck rule, Brady, Woodson, tuck rule. Just type in the tuck rule, and it'll pop up. Now, obviously, for the older generation, people that watched it live, were at the game, or simply know about it, you know what I'm talking about. And actually, speaking of that, I do want to hear your thoughts down below, because I know not everyone that listens to Murph's Boston Sports Talks is a Patriots fan. I know there's a bunch of, Giants fans, there's a bunch of Cowboys, and some Steelers, so I already, made fun of them. But let me know what your thought of the tuck rule at that time was. If you watched the game live and you saw that play, let me know, whether it's in the comment section below here on YouTube or if you're listening to audio-only platforms. Reach out to me via social media at Murph's Cardtown. Let me know what you initially thought was the ruling on the play. You initially thought. Then, I also want you to say, do you agree with the call that was ultimately stood on the field? So obviously, bang, bang, live action, it looks like a fumble. You slow it down, you look at the replay, the rule at the time, it's deemed an incomplete pass. But do you agree with that, though? That's what I want to know. So either in the comment section below or reach out to me via social media at Murph's Card Talk. So let's plug and play the information that we have. When Tom Brady is holding the ball to pass it forward, any intentional forward movement of his arm starts a pass, even if Brady loses possession of the ball as he's attempting to tuck it back towards his body. Also, if the player has tucked the ball into his body and then Charles Woodson hits him, losing possession, it's a fumble. So obviously you kind of need the play to kind of, work with the text here. Brady drops back into the gun. Woodson's coming on the strong side blitz. Brady cocks his arm back, goes past his helmet, and as he's attempting to tuck the ball in, to take the sack, and to brace for that hit and just go down and let the play be over, the ball is still moving forward and he has not tucked it yet. He is in the process. He is attempting to tuck it toward his body to take that hit and not fumble it. However, since he did not tuck it, he did not officially tuck the ball into his body, he lost possession of the ball, resulting in the incompletion. Now, people are saying like, oh, the arm is tucked in. How can you make a pass like that? Well, that's not what the rule says. The ball. It doesn't matter about the arm. You could throw the ball however you want. I mean, you could have your arm strapped to your body. You could still throw it. I mean, we've seen players throw it sidearm, overhand, no look, looking, behind the back, underhand. When they're right-handed, they've thrown it left-handed. There's many ways to throw the ball. Shovel passes where you just kind of like, it forward, just like kind of toss it forward to the guy on the jet sweep. So as Brady is bringing the ball towards his body, attempting to tuck it, he then loses the ball, albeit the ball is still theoretically going forward, or actually technically it is going forward, and the ball comes out. Now, obviously, being a Patriots fan, I'm obviously going to understand this, and I'm going to defend it. As a Raiders fan, you're going to refute it. And you're going to be like, nope, it's a fumble. This is the dumbest rule ever. They screwed us. We were going to win. But, that's why I want to know what other people's opinions are. People from the outside looking in. You have the text here. But I want to know if you agree with it. This is referred to as the tuck rule because the ball leaving the quarterback's hands is considered a forward pass, even if the quarterback intends to not pass the ball, but instead continues the forward motion to tuck the ball back into his body. Only once the forward motion of the arm is completed and the ball tucked into the quarterback's body would be a subsequent loss of possession be considered a fumble. So, that's the rule then. That was the rule then. Now, obviously, that's not the rule anymore. However, that's not the only instance we've seen the tuck rule come up. Actually, earlier that same year in 2001, Jets versus Patriots, I think it was week 2. Who was it? I think Chad Pennington was quarterback for the Jets. Drops back. Or no, it was Vinny Testaverde. Drops back for the Jets, and he goes to pass the ball forward. Ball comes out. However, they ruled it incomplete pass because his arm was going forward, albeit he was getting hit. Tuck rule. Raiders versus Patriots in 2001. Well, technically 2002, but it was the 2001 season. Redskins versus Broncos, or I should say the Commanders versus the Broncos in 2005. The tuck rule was enforced in a regular season game on October 9, 2005 between Washington and the Broncos. Broncos quarterback Jake Plummer lost the ball while in the Broncos' own end zone. Referees initially called the play a fumble and awarded the football of the Commanders a safety, but after instant replay review cited the tuck rule in reversing the decision and calling it an incomplete pass. The Broncos eventually went on to win the game. I don't care. Chiefs-Ravens, 2010, and then in 2013, the rule was repealed by a 29-1 vote. And I could only imagine who that one vote was. It was Robert Kraft saying, I love the tuck rule and forever will, and I know Al Davis, may he rest in peace, is probably smiling because Al Davis at the time, who owned the Raiders, got absolutely screwed from his perspective. But yeah, there it is. There's the tuck rule. I mean, obviously, to the younger generation, it makes absolutely no sense, and trying to explain it to people who may not understand it still doesn't make any sense. Now, obviously, you look at that same play today, Brady's arms going forward. However, he did not make that pass. And where is his arm is coming down now as he's attempting to still tuck the ball in and then gets hit and the ball comes out. Yeah, that's a fumble today. But that's just the rule. I mean, look at the Des Bryant catch-no-catch play in the NFC divisional game between the Cowboys and the Packers. I think that was a catch. I think he caught the ball, came down 1-2, and attempted to dive. And then, the ball pops out, but then he's right on top of it to recover if it's a fumble. But clearly they don't think the 1-2 and the dive was good enough to be a completed pass and a football move. Just the rule at the time. Then they changed it, and there was so much controversy. What's a catch? What isn't a catch? How do you determine it's a catch? That's just a whole nother can of worms. But this documentary actually was really, really interesting because a lot of points were brought up. A lot of different points. That play doesn't happen. What happens to the Patriots? They clearly get eliminated in the 2001 playoffs. What about 2003? What about 2004? Would we have won the Super Bowl? Or the Super Bowls, I should say. Would we have had anywhere near the same success that we did for the past 20 years? Maybe, maybe not. Tom Brady said in the documentary, if not for the tuck rule, I'm probably Drew Bledsoe's backup in 2022. Which is very, very interesting. And people still forget that we had Drew Bledsoe on the team that year, who was a very good quarterback. And if it wasn't for Mo Lewis railing Drew Bledsoe on the sideline on a scramble by Bledsoe, Brady would never have gone in. And people also forget in the 2001 AFC Championship game against the Steelers after the Patriots beat the Raiders, Tom Brady had a leg injury. He had to come out, and Drew Bledsoe came back and won the game for the Patriots in the AFC Championship against that damn good Steelers team. I mean, people really do forget about Drew Bledsoe. And if you look at 2002, if the tuck rule didn't happen, or if, the Patriots lost for whatever reason, then what's the career of Tom Brady? What's the success of Tom Brady? Would Drew Bledsoe have been able to lead the Patriots to the playoffs in 2002, 2003, 2004? I mean, he did sign a 10-year contract for like $107 million or whatever it was at the start of the 2000 season. 2000 or 2001 season is when he did sign that contract. So having to trade Bledsoe at the end of the 2001 season after you won the Super Bowl was obviously an easy decision because you just won the Super Bowl with a 6th-round pick, someone who's not making $10 million, who at the time was the highest paid player. $10 million was the highest paid player at the time. It's just so much from that one play. And in the documentary, you see Brady, you see Brewski, McGinnis, Troy Brown, all talking about, like, what happened? Like, could this have happened? Could that have happened? Like, where would we be today? And then, obviously, there was some Raiders players, too. Like, oh, we got screwed, da-da-da-da. It's a fake rule, blah, 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 blah. But then there's also Kraft saying that he loves the tuck rule, and if it wasn't for that one play, the 6 championships would never have happened. And then, Belichick's talking about it as well, which I was kind of surprised he was in it, to be honest. But Belichick's saying that, like, it's part of the rule. It happened to us before. I'm looking at the replay. I had no doubt in my mind we were going to get the ball back. At the time, it was just part of the rule. And I just don't think people wrap their head around that. They just read the rule. Read the rule. Put the pieces of the play into the rule and try to comprehend it. Yeah, it may not make sense to people that aren't Patriot fans, but I'm trying to break it down as best as I can for you. So that was a great documentary. If you have ESPN Plus or if you have cable, definitely go watch it. It is a fantastic 30 for 30. I don't even know if you need ESPN Plus actually for it. I think if you just go to ESPN app and go to 30 for 30s, it's there. But like I said, it's definitely worth a good watch. You'll learn a lot, and especially for the newer folks, the newer generation of Patriot fans or football fans, that is a crucial part of history. Probably, if not, it is the most controversial play in all of NFL history. Or at least NFL recorded history, right? I mean, name another play that is so controversial. Not a play that, like, not like a luck play, call it, the helmet catch, in the Super Bowl. Like, that's a luck play. That's not a controversial play. Came down, caught it on his helmet, and got tackled. That's luck. I mean, the Julian Edelman play, that's luck. Ball could have been intercepted, goes up in the air, he dives and catches it 1 inch off the ground. That's luck. That's not controversy. The tuck rule is controversy. Again, if you're a younger person, younger generation, football fan, Patriots fan, whatever, go watch the tuck rule. It is the most controversial play, at least in my opinion, in NFL history. In sports history, oh, goodness. I mean, with all the ramifications that the tuck rule had and went on to have, I mean, I can't think of other controversial plays in other sports right off the top of my head right now as I'm talking. But I wouldn't be surprised if the tuck rule is number one in all of sports either. I really wouldn't be. So, obviously, I'm happy that the rule was in effect at that time. And ever since, it has been abolished. And for a rule that I guess on the surface doesn't make sense, I guess it should be abolished. But then again, in the text, in the literature of the rule book, it makes sense. And I know a lot of people can't wrap their head around that, but it does. It does. But I definitely want to engage with you guys and your thoughts and opinions. Whether you're a Patriot fan, Raiders fan, or a fan of another team, definitely reach out to me via social media at Murph's Cartown. Let me know what you think of the tuck rule. Ruling, the play, the game, the ramifications, the what-ifs, the could-haves, the should-haves, whatever. Let me know at Murph's Cartown on social media. And if you're listening to this on YouTube, please leave those thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, everything you want to talk about the tuck rule down in the comment section below. So let's move on from the tuck rule, as I could talk about the tuck rule all day, about how, Vinatieri still had to go on and make that kick in the snow. I mean, people forget about that. People forget about the kick in the snow to force overtime. And the fact that Patriots got the ball to start overtime, they marched down the field, and he kicks a 45-yarder in the snow to win it. I mean, people just forget about that. Oh, and then in the documentary, I know I said I wanted to move on, but I do want to talk about this real quick. The Patriots, it was 3rd and 1, and the Raiders go to run the ball. They get a stop. Right? 4th and 1, 4th and inches, whatever you want to call it. Gruden and the Raiders punt it, because, Gruden was the coach at the time. He calls to punt. He punts it. Troy Brown gets it at like the 15, runs, has a good return. It was like a 20, 25-yard return, to be honest. But then he fumbles it as he gets tackled. And we just so happen to have more guys in the area to recover the ball. And the Patriots did recover the ball. But, there was so many other plays in that game that helped lead up to that tuck rule play. And then even after the tuck rule play. The first 3 quarters, or probably the first 3.5 quarters, was just good football and crazy weather, good defensive game, not a lot of points being scored. But then the last 6 minutes of the game, and then obviously into overtime, is what's always talked about. So yes, there was that one controversial play in the game, but there was so many other factors before and after it. Holy smokes, what a crazy game to just look back on. Obviously, it works in my favor because I'm a Patriots fan. However, trying to watch that and understand it as an NFL fan, it's just bizarre. It's really bizarre to think, because what if the Raiders converted on 3rd and 1? What if they went for it on 4th down and got it? What if they went for it on 4th down and didn't get it? What if Troy Brown didn't fumble? What if Troy Brown fumbled but the Raiders recovered? I mean, there's just so much. What if Vinatieri missed the field goal to force overtime? Obviously, the game's over. What if Vinatieri misses the field goal to win the game in overtime? Then what? It's just there's so much to think about outside of the tuck rule play. And that kind of what also makes it so beautiful. And like incredible that it happened is there's so much more than just that one play. It wasn't like that one play. You know, that one play would have won it for the Raiders, but it's not like that one play won it for the Patriots. So definitely trying to think about it and, you know, talk about it with so many other ramifications, with so many other attributes and components to the game itself in the last 6 minutes in overtime. It's just wildly bizarre and wildly mind-blowing in a way.